Uh-oh is right. I was worried today when President Trump went to Washington, D.C. for the first time since he left as president a year and a half ago, a little bit more. I thought he was signaling that he wasn't running for president. What do you make of this?
Starting with our new majorities in Congress next year and continuing under the next Republican president, we need an all-out effort.
The next Republican president, as if it were someone else. Everyone's watching his words very, very carefully. I was relieved just a little bit later. You know, I'm rooting for this guy.
They want to damage you in any form, but they really want to damage me so I can no longer go back to work for you. And I don't think that's going to happen.
All right, speaking at the American First Policy Institute, his new group, a lot of Trump officials there. It's a nonprofit pushing the America First agenda. His speech, again, the first one in D.C. since he was president, common sense. This kind of message, I believe, based on where we are right now as a country, I know it sounds crazy, but I think he could win like 45, 46, 49 states. Common sense stuff. And also, he has his finger on the pulse. This guy is not cut off. He knows everything that's going on. He's talking about what people are talking about.
Another 60 people were shot. Think of this. It's not even possible. Were shot in Chicago over the weekend. We've all heard the story of the bodega worker on the night shift in New York who was violently assaulted. Violent. It was on camera, on tape, 3 different directions by a man attempting to steal a bag of potato chips. In Philadelphia last month, a 73-year-old man was walking along the street when he was approached by a band of 7 teenagers who attacked him for sport and beat him to death. A pregnant woman murdered outside her home as she unloaded the gifts from her baby shower. A young girl struck in the head with a bullet while driving her family on her 12th birthday. A 61-year-old woman burglarized, raped, murdered, and set on fire in her home.
I know it's grim to listen to, but all of those incidents, I remember when they happened. He has his finger on the pulse, and that is important for anybody who wants to lead. And he pointed out something that very few do. Who's in charge of these cities where all this stuff is happening?
I don't want to make this partisan, but every city, every single city is run by Democrats. Every single city where it's in trouble, like the kind of trouble we're talking, it's run by Democrats and the crazy policies that they put forth. And they can't believe them. And certainly after all of this time with the bad results, you would say, gee, it's time to make a change. But I really believe even a majority of the Democrats would say, because they don't want to be brutalized, a majority of Democrat voters would say exactly what I'm saying is right.
This is what I mean about him possibly coming back and coming back with a lot of Democrat support. He's leading. Joe Biden is not. Also, who's going to argue with this other than Democrats? Listen.
Federal, state, and local governments should aggressively enforce existing statutes to stop the perverted sexualization of minor children.
Total common sense, totally. But there are Democrat politicians who will not draw that line. So today, it was like a Trump rally, except in the middle of the day, in the middle of Washington, D.C. What was Joe Biden up to? What has he been up to? He's getting over COVID, right? COVID. And speaking in a way that is downright scary, over the top, and in no way unifying.
The Capitol Police, the D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes, speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized, and lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former president of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office. While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officers were subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-cop. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-democracy. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-American.
Hyping January 6th again. Look, it wasn't an insurrection, but what he wants to do, because they all accuse Trump of being an insurrectionist, if you support Trump, then you're an insurrectionist, then you can't be for America. You see what they're doing? And by the way, notice anything with his eyes? I want to show you this clip again, and we're going to zoom in on his eyes, and I'm going to keep time. The normal human being blinks 15 to 20 times a minute. Let's see how many times Joe blinks. Go.
The D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes, speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized, and lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former President of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office. While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officers were subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours.
33 seconds, not one blink. The camera switches angle right about here. Not one blink. What's going on? Is that medication? That's not normal. And it's not a side effect of COVID as far as I know. Something weird is happening again with Joe. As the swamp continues to close ranks around Joe Biden, doing anything it can to get Donald Trump, including Republicans. All right, so this is a guy named Mark Short, and he is desperately trying to do anything he can to screw up Donald Trump, both when he was president and it looks like now as an ex-president. Looks like he's been telling all kinds of stories, and he's still traumatized by what happened on January 6th. You know, after all, Big O had his feet up on the desk, and that guy walked off with the podium. He says that his boss, Mike Pence, that the Secret Service agents around him would have let loose on the horns guy, on all these people, if they had gotten any closer.
I think that the bigger risk, and despite the way perhaps it was characterized in the hearings last week, candidly, is that if the mob had gotten closer to the vice president, I do think there would have been a massacre in the Capitol that day. I'm not so sure the Secret Service's lives were those in danger, though. I think that likely there would have been a lot of other lives lost that day.
I don't think you should be saying that about the Secret Service, that the Secret Service would have just opened fire with their machine guns on the horns guy and all those other characters. I don't think the Secret Service is that trigger happy, actually. I wouldn't liken the Secret Service to Lieutenant Mike Byrd, who opened fire on that unarmed U.S. Air Force veteran, Ashley Babbitt. No, I don't think they would have. You know, you want to find out, Mr. Short, what happened on January 6th, what really happened? Find out who that little cop was. Why didn't the committee ask this question? Why did the committee get this little cop who was waving everybody onto Capitol Hill? Why were you doing that? How about these officers who stood on either side of the hallway as the protesters came in? Welcome to the Capitol. Yeah, no problem. Step right in. Hi, good to see you. And what about those three officers who just walked away at the moment of truth? A few seconds before Ashley Babbitt was shot, these three guys decide to take a coffee break. There they go. Doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. We need those questions answered. All right? And one more, actually. Let's get back to Joe Biden's eyes. Really, what is going on with him and his eyes? And Joe in general. The strangest president perhaps we ever had. And here's one of the problems. He's been in politics way too long. He was only an ordinary person outside of the political world for 2 years, from the age 25 to 27. And, you know, when you're a U.S. senator at the age of 29, 30, for 50, you're like a big shot. Every room you are in, you're the man.
To start the testimony for the evening, I call Senator Biden of Delaware.
Senator Biden, welcome to the Advocates.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Senator Biden, it's nice to have you here. As the youngest member of the Senate, the one, therefore, who may expect the longest career there, I wonder if you'd say to us, since it's clear that you're not corrupt and you got elected, why should people think that the system produces corrupt results when there you are?
Well, I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt, but thank you for that, though.
I'm not sure you should assume I'm not corrupt. Wow. I think that's pretty curious. Who does that? Anyway, Joe Biden, you can tell he's just a cocky guy. And when you're a senator, you hang around with a lot of rich people. And I think what happens is you start to think that you deserve some of this stuff that these rich people have. Joe frequently stays at the mansion owned by a billionaire in Nantucket. He also, when he was vice president, would vacation at the Hamptons, again, staying at the homes of billionaires. Joe was pretty intent on acquiring pretty impressive real estate for himself. He got that DuPont mansion, and he's got had another house in McLean, Virginia. That's a problem. You start as just a public servant, and then you go all in for yourself. Look at this guy. Look at him strut. He loved every moment of it, and he wanted it all. He got it. I don't think it was worth it, though, and I think he may lose it all.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. I want to tell you about the Patriot Gold Group. But first, let me tell you that the S&P has already lost $8.2 trillion in 2022. Did you know that? Peak inflation is not even hit despite the Fed rate hikes on groceries, on gas. You know it as well as I do. Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs are warning of another 20% drop. Inflation is winning in a knockout right now. The Fed is going to raise rates again at the end of July. Meanwhile, Goldman, Wells Fargo, and Bloomberg are all forecasting gold to surpass all-time highs. If you want to invest in gold, call 888-936-2373 now. Call the Patriot Gold Group today and ask about their no-fee-for-life IRA. Sounds like a good deal, don't it? Here's the number, 888-936-2373, 888-936-2373 for the Patriot Gold Group.